This is Comic Shenanigans, episode 1092B, Spider Talk, featuring Zack Chapman.
Ain't no stopping them shenanigans. Love getting into shenanigans. All up in them shenanigans. 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 Shenanigans.
Welcome to the Comic Shenanigans podcast. I'm your host, Adam Chapman. This is episode 1092B. It's a bonus episode. It's a bit of comic talk with my son, Zachary Chapman. Zachary, say hello.
Hi.
Although I guess you'd prefer to be Zach?
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought we'd have a quick chat. Don't know if this will end up working, but we'll see. You have read a lot of Spider-Man comics in the last few years, ever since you could read, basically. You've been reading Spider-Man comics. But most recently, you took on a Herculean task of reading pretty much all of Amazing Spider-Man. Not a lot of the B titles, but
Some B titles.
Some B titles, but for the most part, you basically went to the basement where it's our library, and you grabbed Epic Collections, and you basically just started from the beginning.
Yeah.
What made you want to go back to the beginning and read them all? You had read some of the original stuff through the Mighty Marvel Masterworks before, and then some of the epics, but again, you've kind of read here and there. You've always loved the Amazing Spider-Man by John Michael Straczynski Ultimate Collections. You've always been a fan of those. But what made you decide to sit down and start reading from the beginning to current?
So it's kind of what you said, like the Mighty Marvel Masterworks.
Mm-hmm.
So I like those. Those are nice. But I always wanted to know what happened next. So I just decided, I had free time. I might as well go downstairs and start reading.
I laugh because for a kid, as an adult perspective, all your time is free time. Yes, you go to school, but
7 hours.
How much?
7.
7 hours. It's still a lot of reading time. So you've blown through this pretty fast. I wasn't counting. I wasn't, keeping track. But you did seem to go through it pretty quick. Now, you will roll your eyes when I say this. Not everything, maybe you read exactly every word. Some of it's stuff you may have skimmed a little bit more. Usually the stuff I think that you've already read before in the past. But what did you find? Was there a specific run of issues where you found you were more likely to skim a little and maybe weren't giving it a deep read that maybe didn't connect with you as much as a reader? We're talking about 950 issues almost. So I'm just curious, what of the ones kind of really grabbed your attention, and which ones did you find you were skimming a little bit more?
So yes, I did skim on a few, and yes, the reason
Mm-hmm.
is that I've already read it.
Okay.
Or recently seen something with it.
Okay.
But a thing, and I'm trying to work on it, is that if I don't like the art, I'll say that, well, I don't like the art, so I'm not going to waste my time reading this. Which I know is kind of a rude thing to say. And people work hard on those issues, and they're okay. It's just not my style.
Okay. Well, first of all, I definitely get that, and you're already in some ways more mature about it than I was at that age. You're right. If the art doesn't connect with you, it's harder to get through the story. There's particular issues of Uncanny X-Men that I remember kind of bailing on the book, and I look at it now and realize it wasn't everything about the package I wasn't responding to. It was the art. The art just wasn't working for me, but I was older than you are now, but younger than I am now, and I hadn't really maybe realized that that's what the delineation was and why I really wasn't able to appreciate it. So that definitely makes a lot of sense. I'm curious about, the first 100 issues. You have Stanley is scripting it, writing it to varying degrees. You had the first, 39, 40 issues by Steve Ditko, and then you have John Romita Sr. coming on board. As someone who did not grow up in that era, I'm curious, which version of Spider-Man is more your Spider-Man? Was it Ditko or was it Romita?
That's a good question.
It's an age-old question, one would say.
I really like them both.
Okay.
Sure, they each have pros and cons, but I feel like in the end, they're both good.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that I definitively like one.
You
definitively.
don't definitively haven't chosen one? Okay, that's fair. I'm curious, there's a pretty big shift in the book, in Spider-Man as a character, after One More Day, which at this point is about 20 years ago, or close to. So I'm curious how you felt reading it, seeing Peter get married, and then having him not married anymore, and then moving forward with different other relationships, sometimes with MJ, sometimes not. I'm curious what your take was. I mean, obviously you've seen the Spider-Man movies, you've seen him with a version of MJ, you've seen him with a Gwen, so I'm curious how you felt about married Peter or single Peter.
So, I was gonna come back to that, but since you bring it up, something I haven't liked about Spider-Man, and it's not, like, bad, it's just something that's not my favorite. Peter's love life is not the best. He was married for a long time. Yeah, I know, but like other than that, they won't let him be happy. No. He always has to bail on dates, and every date goes, "You're a jerk," and then leaves. Yeah. The only time he seems to get anywhere is when he's either not himself and the chameleon is him, or the Venom symbiote is on him. True. And now coming back to what you asked, married Peter, I didn't really like married Peter. Really? Okay. I just said that I don't like his love life. But he should be single. Really? But, like, I just don't know, like, how they go with it. Like, they have to make him fail every date. Just don't make him go on any dates. So, I find that interesting because I grew up with a married Peter. When I started reading comics, sorry, go ahead. Another thing is that... What were you going to say? I forgot. Oh, it's okay. Just think about it. I'll say what I was going to say, and you can think about what you're going to say. When I started reading comics, I was 10 or 11, and I'm picking up random issues here and there. I didn't have access to hundreds of issues like you do, or thousands in this case, in our library in the basement. I grew up on a married Peter. That's how I knew Peter. Eventually, I would read older comics and see when he was single, but married Peter was my Peter. And so I would have started reading around 94, 95. I didn't start buying regularly until late 96, when I would have been about 13. And then it's only 10, 11 years later when the marriage goes away. But again, it was very ingrained in me that relationship was the core one. I'm not as upset as other people are. It's funny, if you go online, and there's a website called Spider-Fan, which before Marvel wikis were a big thing and you could find out any information you wanted. Spider-Fan had amazing recaps of issues of Spider-Man. And I remember really being a big fan, and I asked if I could be part of their staff, and they said yes, and then I would write reviews. So the review for the last issue of One More Day is written by me, if you go on this website, and I am so embarrassed by it now, because I was just upset. I was like, this is so bad. This is horrible. Looking back on it, One More Day, I liked a lot of what it gave us afterwards. I liked a lot of Brand New Day. But in the... Big time eventually. But in the moment, I really hated it. Because it just felt very artificial and very blatant in terms of what they were trying to do. And I just didn't like it. That being said, I liked Carly Cooper. I thought she was a lot of fun. I've liked their attempts to, kind of have him do other things. I don't mind him being back with MJ sometimes as well. I find when they put him back with Black Cat, I don't really buy it as much. It just feels like both characters kind of moved beyond that. But yeah, I will say a curious question for you is that in the last 20 years especially, but always to a degree, more and more characters in Spider-Man's kind of supporting cast in his world started becoming superheroes, supervillains, or somehow related to the game. And that bothered me the more it happened. And so I'm curious how you felt, because you're reading this all at once, and you're seeing suddenly Flash is a superhero, now MJ is a superhero. Like, everyone's becoming something, and there's less and less people in his kind of world who aren't part of that. So I'm curious how you felt about that. So yeah, I actually told you about this while I was reading more Spider-Man earlier. Okay. That they keep giving too many characters like superhero or bad guy things. Mm-hmm. Like, Mary Jane is now a superhero. She's way too overpowered. Mm-hmm. Like, I know she gets bad luck sometimes, but if she doesn't, like, if she gets 3 sevens, she can resurrect people. Now, spoiler warning, she's the all-new Venom. So,
I will allow you to finish your thought, but finish your thought. I have a question for you.
And, like, Randy, he's not a superhero, but, like, he was with Janice, and she took over... She was with him for a while. And then he had, like, Fred as a roommate.
Oh, yeah?
He was...
But at least that was already Boomerang. Like,
yeah, fair.
It's a little different as... They introduced a pre-existing character to add hijinks. And now we haven't finished reading Superior Foes together. Spoiler, Boomerang survives that, although does not survive Amazing Spider-Man. But, that was, a fun thing to have him woven in. But, yeah, continue.
And... That's actually, I think, like, Janice, like, was like a big part, like, what, like, gang war happened, I think, because, or, like, around Janice?
Yeah, she was involved. She was a big part of that.
Yeah, and...
Her and Madame Mask and Tombstone, and, everyone's kind of...
Also, another thing, like, earlier, not connected to what you asked me, Peter gets, like, his life goes good, and then they immediately have to say no. We're gonna take away everything. Like, he had Parker Industries. We're gonna make Otto Octavius come back and then destroy it. There's so many examples of him finally going good and then getting screwed over.
There's 950 issues of it, so there's been a lot of give and take. Yeah, one thing I thought was interesting. So you've been reading collections. You don't really, when it comes to Spider-Man comics, for the most part, you haven't read single issues or like the floppy issues. Sometimes I'll bring home a new Amazing Spider-Man and you'll flip through it, so it's not like you haven't seen them. But for the most part, your experience is mainly in collections or the collected format. You're not even reading it digitally, mainly because with the screen time, you're not reading comics. You're doing something else, like playing video games. So I'm curious how you have felt, and there's times when this was more obvious than others, as you read through these issues, when things are happening in other books. So you're hearing that things are happening in Spectacular Spider-Man, but you're not seeing it. And even in the current day, things are happening in other books, and suddenly Venom shows up, Flash Thompson shows up, he's wearing anti-venom. And you're like, wait, what happened? And so, like, how did you find... You got to see how the Marvel Universe has expanded and evolved through Spider-Man's eyes in a Spider-Man context, because you're not reading all the other books that are happening. You're just seeing little pieces of continuity kind of jumping into Amazing Spider-Man. I'm curious how you felt about that. Did you feel lost? Did it make you want to kind of track down those things and understand what was happening? Did it make you want to read the B titles or more of the B titles? Would it make you want to pick up some of the singles that I may have in the basement from these B titles so that you can kind of fill in the blanks? Like, how do you feel about what you've missed? Because especially... Sorry, and I promise I'll stop talking in a second. Amazing Spider-Man, up until One More Day, there were a lot of other titles. And then after that point, for the most part, it was just Amazing Spider-Man. 3 times a month, 2 times a month. None of that really means anything to you, because you're just reading more and more issues of Spider-Man. It doesn't matter to you how frequently it was coming out for the people buying it, or for me buying it at the time. Now, in the more modern context, now you have characters like Miles, who shows up here and there in Amazing Spider-Man, but you don't get to see where he's coming from or how he's there. You just kind of see him pop into the book. So what has that been like for you as a reader?
So I can't remember when, but Peter and Mary Jane go to Portland, and then, like, they say they're going there, and then the next issue is them coming back. So I didn't really read anything about Portland. But
there was the Spider-Man Final Adventure where he lost his powers. That was in Portland.
Yeah, was that though?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know all of the adventures in Portland.
It was just those few issues, yeah.
Okay, then take back my thought.
I think, but reading it the way you've been reading it, it feels like he just left and then he's back. Whereas at the time, it would have felt like a couple months, where he was out of the book and now suddenly he's back. But yeah, and that's something that you lose a little bit of, is the time between things, because you're experiencing it all so quickly, because you are a voracious reader and you're reading it so quickly that the first appearance of Venom doesn't feel that far away from other related events, because you're reading 900 issues. So, from Maximum Carnage to Venom, there's a good 80 issues or so there, between Venom's first appearance and Maximum Carnage, but you probably experienced it in the same afternoon. Well, probably not, but in the same week. So it would have felt very different.
Actually, before I say that, I'm going to go back because I hadn't finished. my Portland thought.
Okay.
So not related to Portland. They're like driving. Mary Jane and Peter are driving in a taxi cab, and then the Sentinels attack.
Yes.
And that's during Onslaught.
Yes.
Now the only reason I knew what was going on was because I'd read the Onslaught books. Mm-hmm. Like, and I imagine if I had not read those, I would have been so confused.
Yes. Now here's a question: did you find that older books did a better job explaining when the Marvel Universe was encroaching on the narrative that you were reading compared to more modern ones?
Oh, yeah.
Like, did you feel like some more modern books, things are happening, but they're not explaining it as much? Now, how did you, like, it's just because there's less narrative boxes, less word balloons? Like, how did you feel that you got, like, as you said with Onslaught, that is a lot to just kind of walk into. But at the same time, they do try to explain what's going on. Whereas more recent books you've read maybe haven't done as good a job doing that. How did you express that?
So again, I'm going to go back because you keep cutting me off. For Miles Morales,
yes,
I have these gray books that are the Miles Morales from a different universe.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure you told me that he got, like, transported over.
Yes.
Because of, like, he did something, and then that scored him a spot in the universe.
That is correct, yes. You have the smaller graphic novel size, larger collections of Miles Morales Spider-Man, which collects all of his tales in the Ultimate Universe, and then I don't know how far it goes, but a little bit of him being in the 616, thanks to him being nice to Molecule Man in Secret Wars. Continue.
So, and then, yes, the narrative of the modern books are different from the, like, original, I'm going to say, because it does feel like there are less narrative boxes and, like, thought balloons saying, oh, back in a while ago.
Oh yeah, you're not getting editors boxes, that kind of stuff. Do you miss that stuff? Like,
yes, very.
Okay.
Like I'd be like, last time at, I'm just going to say a random thing, Spider Island, and I'm go, wait, what's Spider Island? I gotta, oh, there's an asteroid, go down. Oh, so way back in, like, this issue. So it was helpful to know, to get context of when that happened. And like, it could be 60 issues, it could be 900 issues. We wouldn't know.
And you're saying that as someone who's literally just read everything, so you, in theory, didn't even need those boxes in the same way that someone would who isn't reading in such a compressed format.
I like them though. They're nice. They're like a little company.
What is, so we had kind of talked before, I was like, well, when you're done with Amazing Spider-Man, what are you going to read? And you were like, well, all B titles and all this other stuff. So you started picking up stuff off the shelf that I didn't expect, like Ben Reilly's Scarlet Spider, that kind of stuff. And I had thought that, oh, we could move on to Daredevil or something like that. But you're kind of staying in the Spider area for a little bit. You just read, I think, Dark Web, Mary Jane, and Black Cat. Which is kind of bananas with no context either, because, like, I have years of accumulated knowledge, and you're like, they're in limbo? Is limbo hell? And who's this red guy? Is that Mephisto? No, that's Belasco. Like, again, did you feel in the collected editions you're not even getting the recaps from previous issues, which sometimes would have been helpful to explain some of what you're seeing, even though you're seeing it on the page, you may not have context for what everything is. Was that harder to be able to go through?
Kind of, because, like, I'm pretty sure that on our shelves downstairs we have, like, the dark web, and then on the next shelf down is the Black Cat and Mary Jane.
That's right.
So it's a long while before I got to read that. So some recap of what Limbo is would have been nice.
Yes. In terms of Spider-Man's main love interests, which ones did you respond to or enjoy reading about the most?
Gwen Stacy.
Gwen fan, okay. I'm a huge Gwen fan, so yeah, okay.
And no one else.
No one else? Not even MJ?
No, it's just Peter, like...
He was married. There's going to be the mother of his kid.
Like, the thing is that Mary Jane is an interesting character. And sometimes she, like... I remember she was signing autographs once, and then, like, a woman was upset at her when she played a character on Secret Hospital. And she, like, pulled a gun. And she was like, oh my god, is this what Peter deals with every day? And then she's like, Peter, please. And he's like, no, I have to go fight crime. And just leaves her.
I have this smile on my face because, like, you referencing such a very specific, like, early 90s or, like, late 80s Spider-Man is not something that an 11-year-old should know. And I love it. It makes me very happy. One thing we haven't really talked about, I'm curious about, when you got to the Venom issues, first appearance of Venom, I was like, whoa, Zach, buckle up. The artwork on Spider-Man is about to change. The visuals are going to be very different because you have Todd McFarlane becomes the artist. I'm curious how you felt, because you read all these issues. You have Ditko, and then you have John Romita Sr., and a lot of the people after John Romita are doing variations on him. They have their own styles, obviously, but it's very similar, kind of house style. Spider-Man looks a certain way for almost 250 issues. And then you get to issue 300, and everything starts to change, and he's doing all these crazy poses, and it looks...
webbing was weird.
The webbing becomes the spaghetti webbing. So I'm curious how you felt about that shift, artistically.
I mean, it didn't really matter to me. I mean, Spider-Man is Spider-Man.
Yeah, but he's doing all these crazy poses.
Yeah, but, like...
Did you notice that the art changed?
Yes.
If I hadn't mentioned it, would you have noticed it?
Yes, but, again, he's doing really cool flips. That it's good.
True.
There's nothing wrong with that.
If you were to go back and look at it, though, and this is what's interesting, is that some artists made Spider-Man look more like Tarzan. He was just kind of swinging through the city. And then suddenly when Todd McFarlane starts drawing him, now he's doing these crazy acrobatic things. His legs are in impossible angles. And then the artist after him, Eric Larson, does that again and more so. And then you have Mark Bagley, who's my favorite Spider-Man artist, who comes on and does a very long run on the title as well. Which artists... And you don't necessarily need to know all the names, but if you can kind of mention some of the stories they did, which artists did you find were your favorite version of Spider-Man to read?
So, what's the stuff that comes before Brand New Day that's, like, in that stuff?
So those five collections of the JMS?
I love
So the first fear by John Romita Jr. So it's a bit...
Those are very good looking.
Okay, and he does a lot of the stuff in the 90s, too. He does some of the most recent stuff with Zeb Wells, with the Tombstone stuff. He was doing...
I like that a lot.
Okay. Now, there was a run that started... The fans call it the Nick Spencer run. It's the one the run that had Kindred in it. So it was like 70, 75 issues. I'm curious how you felt. I haven't gone back and reread them. I found the last 25 issues a real slog to read it on individual issues. I'm curious how you felt reading it as someone who's read everything in a very quick timeline, and now you're going through that run. Did you find that you enjoyed it part of the way through? Because there was, big fun adventure stories, there were boomerang stories, you're getting hunted, which is a darker story as well. But then you'll kind of lead up to Kindred and you have all this other Kindred stuff. I'm curious what your thought was.
So, I like those issues. There's one thing that I'm going to state, and it probably will not change.
Okay.
I do not like Kindred. He's a terrible villain.
Okay. She, they, he?
I don't know. He has, like, all the faces.
You just read it.
I know. He has, like, Gwen's face and Harry's face. Who? There's, like, two of them? It's confusing.
I haven't read it in a bit.
It's Sarah and Gabriel, I think.
Okay. So you weren't a big fan?
No, not at all.
You liked how it started?
Yes.
Didn't like how it ended? Okay. How did you feel about Beyond? So Ben Reilly comes back. You'd obviously, again, this is one of those things where Ben Reilly as a character kind of disappeared and came back to the book. Like, you saw him as the Jackal, and then he just, like, disappeared, and eventually he was, like, a hero again, but not. And then he's this. What do you think of him in Beyond?
So, I really like Beyond for, like, where he works.
Okay.
Like, Norman, like, because didn't Norman get cleansed of his... That's something else, isn't it?
That he got cleansed of his sins the first time in Spencer's run. Man, comics are crazy. And then I don't think he was around in Beyond. Beyond,
I swear he was though.
Beyond was when Ben was working for the Beyond Corporation.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And Peter was laid up in the hospital for a lot of it.
Yeah, so that was pretty good. It was fun.
Now, how'd you feel at the end when you have Chasm? Like, Sorry, I kind of went by this, but. There is that period, which, again, you experienced a really tight period instead of it being 2 years of people's lives when it first came out. But the Clone Saga happens. How did you feel about the Clone Saga, and how did you feel about Ben Reilly then, and then Ben Reilly now?
Confusing.
Okay.
That's the Clone Saga in one word.
Confusing, okay. And long?
Now, yes. So, I like Ben Reilly. He's a fun character.
Mm-hmm.
I do not... Because he's... Chasm, right?
Now he's Chasm.
Yeah, so I don't like him now because I don't like Chasm.
Okay.
He's just like, he's kind of a life is meaningless guy.
Yes, which is kind of funny because when he first showed up in the books, he was always talking about how, I'm not a man, I'm nothing, and now he's, kind of like that again. So he's kind of come around. So you're not a big fan of Chasm. And then the most recent run, now you haven't read Eight Deaths of Spider-Man because we don't have that in collected format yet. But prior to that, we had the Zeb Wells run, which ran about 60 issues. It has the Gang War. It has the most recent Gang War. Has the Tombstone stories peppered throughout. It has Wreck Rap.
Yeah, I love Rick Rapp. He's the best character.
No, thank you.
He's the web-wanging crawler.
Oh, no. He's so terrible.
Pew pew.
No, every time he was in the book, I disengaged completely.
Why? What do you not like about him? Is he too silly for you? He
is a little too silly. I like the artist usually, but when he was drawing Wreck Rap, again, I just checked out. I was not interested in reading it. I found it so difficult to pay attention because I just could not wait for that character to get off the page. Did not like it.
He's like a grown toddler. What do you not love? Spider-Man is supposed to be funny.
When he had that goblin glider hit him, I was like, okay, here we go. And now he just has
He's
it
like,
now.
can I keep it?
Yeah.
And then he flies off and it's just like, that's $3,000.
Yeah, that was not my favorite. Oh, question I haven't asked, and this upset a lot of people when it first happened. At the end of Beyond, Peter and MJ are seemingly happy. And then we have, I think that was at the end of Beyond. Now I can't quite remember the exact sequencing, or maybe it was the end of Zeb Wells' run they were happy. But Nick Spencer. Anyway, you have the whole what did Peter do when you have that run starts, and you have the introduction of Paul, who is the love interest for MJ. I'm curious how you felt about Paul. Did you like Paul? Did you think he was interesting? Did you like his connection to Rabin and to Wyatt, I should say? Did you like that aspect of it? Did you like that they went back to the Wyatt story, which actually happened the first time was during Brand New Day, and then they came back to it like 200 issues later? I'm curious how you felt about the Paul of it all.
Your puns, your quips, I will say, are not as funny as Spider-Man's.
That's fair.
I think we all know that.
Mm-hmm.
So, the one thing I didn't like about that, like Paul, I'll talk about him in a second. He's an interesting, to say the least, character.
Okay.
Now, I remember reading it. It was like was it like months or a year?
I can't remember what the time jump was, but there was a definitive
it time jumped, and then they didn't explain to us for a while.
Yeah, it's almost 2 years. Well,
exactly.
24 issues, so I guess it was about a year.
Yeah, 24 issues. So it just they didn't explain to us what happened right at first, and I was like, what happened?
No, but did you like that mystery box?
No.
Or did you no.
I hated it. I hate cliffhangers.
You hate cliffhangers?
Yes.
So you didn't like that they kind of introduced this mystery and then just kind of didn't explain it for a long time.
Yes, that's why and it obviously, like, if people, like, hear this in the future, it won't be. But that's why, like, I'm kind of irked about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Oh, because they're cliffhangers.
Yes, like, it just, ends, and I'm like, I want to know what happens. Now, Dead Reckoning comes out this Friday, and we might see it soon.
True. But did you find, so you don't like cliffhangers, but in both of those cases, they were at least effective cliffhangers because you, like, I must see what comes next.
Yeah.
So, did you feel that way about the What Did Peter Do? As much as you're frustrated that they're not telling you, you're still invested and interested in what Peter did, right? Like, you still wanted to know. You weren't like, forget this, I'm just going to put this book down and I don't need to keep reading.
I kind of did that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Really?
Did you not realize?
No. Did you take a break from Spidey?
Yes.
How long was this break that I didn't notice?
A day.
I've had a day. Well, I guess in kid time, that's a long time.
Now, yes, cliffhangers are supposed to, like, draw you in and make you prepared.
Yes.
But it's just, like, it'd be one thing if it was, like, what did Peter do? You'll find out in the next issue. But it took so long.
Yes.
For them to finally tell us.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'll go to Paul. Paul, as an interesting character. Because when I first read this stuff, like before this trek of reading all of it,
Okay.
I did not like him. I thought that he was not fit for Mary Jane. And now that I read it in the he's better.
He's better. Okay.
Yes,
You've come around.
Yes, let's just say that.
So you had a gut reaction, and now that you've read more, and you're like, okay, you know what? I'm okay with this, Paul.
Like in the past, when spoiler alert if you haven't read that, which you probably have, the children that they were housing just disappear.
Oh yeah.
Like, I didn't care at the beginning, but now I'm like, oh no. It's like, it's so sad because they spend a while, like it was years on that like place. So it was sad to see them just disappear.
I'm curious, through this trek through Amazing Spider-Man, who is your favorite Spider-Man villain now? After having read, 900 plus issues.
It's hard.
Oh, I should say, sorry, I just realized, you haven't read every issue. There was a few issues you had to miss. Between 419 and 441, you got a bunch of them. You read the Identity Crisis issues, the Spider Hunt issues, the Final Gathering, the final chapter in the Gathering of Five. But you didn't get to read the original Gang War that happened because there's no Epic collection for it yet. So there's a smattering of books that you hadn't had a chance to read. And plus, as I said, you haven't read the most recent issues that came before the most recent relaunch because it was part of the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man. So I just wanted to put that proviso that you haven't read everything, but you're close. So what were you going to say?
So, my favorite Spider-Man villain, like, if you had asked me before, it would have been kind of easy.
Really?
But now, because they can't kill off a character without immediately bringing them back. Norman has died like 5 times.
Feels like it, yeah.
Dr. Octopus, died and then was Superior Spider-Man. Then, went to a clone body and is now just, fit.
Yeah.
And he's not, he kind of doesn't look like Dr. Octopus.
He looks a little bit more like himself, but I get your point. So who is it?
I don't know. Because
okay.
everyone, goes through so many changes. If I say Green Goblin, which Green Goblin? There's, 3 or 4, maybe?
There's at least that. Because there's Norman, Harry, Bart Hamilton, Phil Urich, and then the Goblinette, and then there's simulations of artificial constructs that have been Green Goblins. So there's been a lot. The Goblin King, which I guess is just Norman. You're right. There are a lot.
So I don't know. Also Craven, because he's he shotgunned himself.
Yes.
And then was alive.
Well, he died. So he's one of the ones where he died, and then they did a ceremony to bring him back. So, it didn't negate his death. His death is part of why he's still around. Doc Ock's kind of the same way. You missed out on it, but he got killed by Kane, and when he came back from that death, he was resurrected by the Hand. An offshoot of the Hand called the True Believers. So, which is a nice little in-joke for those fans of Marvel, because they call you True Believers as a fan. So those deaths bother me less because they still happened. They didn't get negated. They just, they live in a Marvel universe where mystical things happen. So sometimes you get brought back from the dead if you're in a mystical ceremony. That's just how it goes.
So, favorite Spider-Man villain? Oof. Sandman isn't, he's a villain. But he keeps switching from hero to villain. He was on the Avengers one time, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was, with Silver Sable once?
Yeah, he was with Silver Sable for a long time.
So, define what you mean as villain. Does it have to be more than once? Because, what if he gets attacked by someone, but they were just misunderstanding?
So, I would say, if it's a character that is recognizable and that a person would call them a Spider-Man villain.
What about Kingpin? Because he's not really a Spider-Man villain anymore.
That is that is a very good point. He still counts. People in the know might call him more of a Daredevil villain,
What about Punisher?
Punisher, he's an anti-hero. I don't think anyone would call him a villain anymore. And he he feels even tangentially related to Spider-Man at this point, even though he originated as this. Like, it's kind of the same thing where you wouldn't call Wolverine a Hulk character, even though he first showed up in the Hulk. So, like, yeah, the character owes his origin there, but he became his own thing. So now he's kind of untethered from Spider-Man.
Okay, so I'd say that my favorite Spider-Man villain is to be decided. I need every Spider-Man villain and to scratch them out. Like, Jackal and Hobgoblin are definitely scratched out.
Wow, Hobgoblin scratched?
Yes, sadly.
Why?
Because he's just a Timu version of Green Goblin.
Oh, it'd be so cool. Okay, I have a question before I let you go. Yeah. So, of the stuff that you've read, some of the stuff you read is extremely important to me, informative in terms of creating my own Spider fandom, in terms of what I first read. So I'm curious what you felt reading Identity Crisis, Spider Hunt, and Gathering of Five final chapter. That period, that's my period. That's always going to be the stuff where if you took all my Spider-Man comics away, if I still have that stuff, I'm really happy, because it's just what I first read. And first really engaged with. So I'm curious what you felt about it.
So I'm going to go one by one. Identity Crisis, really good story. I like all of his, like, him trying to not be Spider-Man because, like, there's a bounty on his head for beating up Norman. There is one, I'm going to call him,
Identity?
Yes, there's one identity that I don't like.
Dusk.
Yes. I just don't like Dusk.
Okay.
It's nowhere near what Spider-Man would want to be. I actually really like Prodigy. Yeah. Prodigy and Hornet are my favorite. Ricochet goes in 3.
Okay.
Prodigy 1, Hornet 2, Ricochet 3, and then Dusk -4.
It's interesting, and I think that was kind of the point of the story, is that Dusk was Peter going outside of his comfort zone because he needed to figure out who killed Joey Z. And so you're right, though. It's not really Spider-Man playing to his strengths, but he's even being quiet. He's not quipping. Like, you're right. It's very much him out of fish out of water to do and figure things out. I always liked the end of that story where he realized how similar in some ways he was to the Trapster, and at the very end when he goes home he's just like, I need a really long shower. Like, I thought that was interesting because he showed how it was really having a toll on him. The Hornet I always thought was great, partially because you had great fun art by Mike Ringo, who also did a run on FF that you've read. His stuff was super fun. I liked how the Vulture, of all people, figures out that the Hornet is actually Spider-Man because he calls him Vulchi. And that even Norman Osborn, who's shaking his hand, he hasn't even figured it out. So I always really liked that. And then Ricochet was just, kind of fun and outlandish. And Prodigy, I'm surprised that was your favorite, but I'm curious.
I like how he felt when he was being Prodigy.
That's fair.
Like, the hero is not only good, but like when we first see him, and then he like taking me off. It's like it's like a dream come true. Like when I would read Uncle Ben's comic books of superheroes.
Yeah.
So it was just like it was how it made me feel. Okay. And he's already amazing. He's like he's like Sentry.
Yeah, he's the golden guardian of good. Okay, so that was Identity Crisis. What about Spider Hunt?
Spider Hunt.
This is what leads into Identity Crisis. So this is what you have a bounty on the head.
Joey Z.
The Joey Z thing starts, so that's why the bounty is placed.
Isn't it because he beat up Norman?
Well, I think that
because
too.
He thought it was the Goblin, so he started.
Well, that's why people don't like Spider-Man. And then the Joey Z thing happens. Just be careful. And then, you have... It ratchets up in intensity because Spider-Man has all these bounty hunters on his tail. He's fighting them. And then Override's there. And then he also fights against Punisher and Shotgun. And then in the midst of this, there's a new Green Goblin who abducts Normie Osborn. So, there's all these different things. So
Who is that Goblin? I forget.
He is just an artificial construct.
Of course he is.
Yep, that's Spider-Man comics for you.
So, Spider Hunt. Oof. I like Override. He is a fun, lovable character. Because, his origin, I like. Because he wanted to be a good guy. Yeah. But he made, he got powers from, I think, Martin Lee. than Mr. Negative. I'm pretty sure it was...
No. You're talking about Overdrive.
Oh, who's Override?
Override's the guy who, like, machinery he can override, and he works with Aura.
Oh, I hate that guy.
And then she gets caught in that laser beam, and then he becomes part of the Gathering of Five. I'm reaching deep into my mind to pull out this stuff.
So, sorry, I'll take back, I hate that guy. I didn't like him until who was he working with? Aurora? Is that her name?
Aura.
I actually felt something when he would visit her in the hospital.
Okay.
Because it was...
So that worked for you.
Yeah.
That was
the only reason he would rob after that was just to get money for the bills.
That's right.
He just wanted to keep his wife alive. Mm-hmm. So I actually connected with him on that.
So overall, Spider Hunt, yay or nay?
I'd say nay.
Nay? Oh, heartbreaking.
I like Override. Sorry, Override?
Override's right, yeah.
But I don't like anything else.
You don't like anything else?
I don't like anything
the
else.
Art's great.
Sorry.
The Joey Z issue it's all in the snow, and Spider-Man keeps seeing Green Goblin everywhere, and he just feels so tormented. And he goes and grabs Norman in the middle of the elevator shaft. And okay, not for you. Okay, heartbreaking, but I get it. Gathering of Five and Final Chapter. Now that is where, for a lot of people, it goes off the rails.
I forgot Final Chapter.
Final Chapter.
I don't remember that.
That's the one where, well, after the Gathering of Five, Norman, first of all, Alice Mungrain shows up, tells Peter that May's alive. He thinks it's May, his daughter. He goes to Green Goblin's hideout, finds his Aunt May, who's now was just an actress who died and not the real Aunt May. And then he's just got a vase knocked over his head. He goes fights against Green Goblin, and then Green Goblin thinks he wins, but really he got the madness from the Gathering of Five. And so then Spider-Man has to save the Daily Bugle, and he has to empty all his web shooters to keep up the building. That's Final Chapter. It's all in the Gathering of Five trade paperback.
Okay, so that's why. So I'm just going to talk about the Gathering of Five trade paperback. So I'm going to talk about both in one. Okay. It's a yay. It's a big yay.
Big yay.
The Gathering of Five on its own would be in the middle.
Okay.
But since it's boosted by Final Chapter, I'd say it's a yay.
Boosted by Final Chapter. Love this.
Because, I like how they all got together. Mm-hmm. But I didn't they told us...
I'm going to start clocking how many times you say like.
Okay, fine. I didn't like that how they told us, in the order. Because I feel like they should have done something sooner to tell us, right after that issue ended. Oh, should be like, they actually got these.
But that was part of the fun.
I know, but it's so hard keeping track in my mind who got what.
The idea was that you thought that you knew what everyone got, and then it turns out, Norman didn't get what I thought. That means other people may have gotten something different. And then it isn't till the next chapter, which is when they do the relaunch. And you were so funny, because you're like, Dad, I thought you said he gave up being Spider-Man. He's Spider-Man right here. I'm like, is he? And then you're like, wait a minute. And then it was Matty Franklin. Who was Spider-Man in those issues. And then you found out Shadrach ended up being Override, because he got... I even forget what he was cursed with, but all these characters got cursed with stuff. So, anyways, okay. Final thoughts. So you've read all this amazing Spider-Man. Now you're starting to read some other kind of books here and there. And then at some point you're going to move on to a different character or something different.
It's good. It's a very good.
It's very good?
Yeah.
It was worthwhile?
Yeah.
Now, I don't think any of your friends read Spider-Man, right? They don't read comics.
Good.
They're
too busy playing Fortnite.
Do you ever talk about comics with any of your friends?
Why would I do that?
Oh, well, heartbreaking.
I'm trying to build up popularity here.
Wow.
I'm talking about books.
Okay. Oh,
the closer I get to playing Fortnite, then I'll be popular.
Okay, so the problem isn't Spider-Man. The problem is books. That's so funny, because growing up, no one read comic books. They would look down on comic books and be like, oh, that's kid stuff. And you're saying, the problem is not Spider-Man and etc. It's the fact that you read a book, because books aren't cool. Well, that's heartbreaking. I'm sure any librarian hearing that's going to be crying themselves to sleep tonight. Well, Zach, thank you so much. You have been talking with me for almost 45 minutes. That is a lot longer than I thought you'd be able to go. No, because this is your first time doing a full podcast.
Well, I've been in snippets.
You've been in snippets.
I had my own section in the 1000th episode.
Yeah, where you guilt tripped me for ending the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
If I cried, I'm so embarrassed about that.
I mean, you were 9. Wait, were you even 9? Yeah. Yeah, you were 9.
Also, we talked about, sorry, not in that 1,000. There have been snippets of me talking about, like, those Sonic movies.
Yeah, okay.
Like, there have been some movies that I've watched that I've talked about with you.
True.
I don't think we've done one for a Minecraft movie or
No,
yet.
we did not. No,
But that's not really, like, Minecraft isn't really...
Comic Shenanigans? No, I guess not. Well, anyways, Zach, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been a bonus episode of the Comic Shenanigans podcast.
B-story.
Although, really, this could have just been a regular episode at this point. But we do have regularly scheduled programming coming out this Saturday, which is, I guess, the 24th of May. We're going to have an episode with Callie Thompson. And then on the 31st of May, we're going to have a Book of the Month Club episode. Not sure what it's going to be. It really depends on the availability of my guests. Upcoming episodes will also include Ron Friends coming back on the show. We're going to be doing another creator spotlight. The first one we did last week, we did it on Zeb Wells. The next one will likely be on John Romita Sr. Jr., I should say. John Romita Jr. So check those things out. You can email us at comicshenanigans@gmail.com. Rate the show on Apple Podcasts. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts. And also listen to us on Spotify. Thank you so much for listening to this bonus episode. Zach, thanks again for joining me. And we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.